Welcome everybody to our Mastering Print Industry Sales and Management webinar. My name is Morgan DiGiorgio. I'm the Senior Vice President, Sales and Marketing for Direct Mail 2.0. So a little bit about us and what we do at Direct Mail 2.0. It is our sole purpose to make direct mail the most effective form of marketing by integrating it with cutting edge technologies. So we have a 14 technology marketing automation platform that integrates into direct mail to make it more effective, doing a couple of different things. One, we want to seamlessly track the mail, either showing attribution or tracking deliverability, but we also layer on an omni-channel marketing approach so that we can really harness the powerful impact that's driven by mail, and we utilize and employ the power of repetition to repeat that exact same message over and over again. We also have a real-time reporting dashboard, so our resellers or printers and MSPs, they can manage all of their clients' direct mail campaigns, and then their clients can log into our dashboard in real time, and they can see the results of all their direct mail campaigns and really have access to all that data so that they continuously can improve their direct mail campaigns. So I'm really excited for today's webinar. I've got a stellar panel today. I'm going to just individually introduce each one of them and have them tell a little bit about themselves and their organization. So our first panelist today I have is Rob Bradshaw. He's the CRO at PostcardMania. Rob, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, everyone. My intro will not be as robust as Morgan's, unfortunately, but I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at PostcardMania. PostcardMania started in 1998. I think I started in 2003, so I've been here a little over 20 years. I run a sales and marketing team of about 90 individuals in my area. Company-wide, we're about 365 staff. We pretty much do everything in-house. We have a few different facilities right here. And our main audience is small to medium-sized business owners. We generate all of our leads for our team. And, we use direct mail as our number one source. And then we add in all the digital online components to go along with it. So.
Fantastic. Thanks, Rob. And our next panelist is Kelly Mallozzi, the owner principal at Success in Print.
Yeah, so I am just recently celebrated my 30th anniversary in the printing industry, which continues to be very difficult for me to admit. But I've worked in print shops, I've been a sales manager, I've sold equipment, and for the last 14 years, I've been doing independent consulting. Bill and I work together on a lot of different things, but primarily I'm focusing on coaching and mentoring, and I am all in on sales enablement this year. So that's all you're pretty much going to hear from me. So I'm just really excited to be here. Thank you, Morgan. And thank you, everybody, for having me.
Yeah, we're excited to have you, Kelly. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. And then we have Bill Farquharson, Chief Content Creator at SalesVault.pro.
Thank you, Morgan. I am a sales trainer for the graphic arts, and I include print, signage, promo, labels, packaging. I'm a columnist for Printing Impressions magazine, also a blogger. Done that for a long, long time. I come from the print industry. I have sold everything that I talk about. I've sold print and I've sold labels and you name it, signage, everything else. During COVID, when everything shut down, I raked all of my training content together. My wife, Allison, is a web designer. She put a website around it. We call it the Sales Vault. And this is a combination of searchable content and about 15 to 18 live Zoom workshops each month, one of which is done by Miss Kelly Mallozzi. And we are working with sales reps and selling owners who want to get from here to there, want to get to the next level. So we teach them what to do, and we have a hell of a lot of fun along the way.
Good.
Fantastic. Thanks, Bill. And last but not least, we have Guy Fashano. He's a sales manager at Mailing Systems, Inc. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your organization, Guy.
Hey, Morgan, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate this great venue and looking forward to sharing with everyone. I'm not sitting on the Golden Gate Bridge, but since I'm the one on the West Coast, I think you guys are all back east. I figured it was appropriate to put the Golden Gate Bridge in there. MSI is located in Sacramento, California, about 90 miles from San Francisco, 90 miles from Tahoe or Napa. So if you guys want to have some fun out in the West Coast, this is the place to come. MSI has been in business for about 30 years. We have approximately 40 employees under roof at this facility. We are part of the Delta Print Group. Delta Print Group is a culmination of 8 different companies that all work under that name. And they have another facility. So we have two facilities about 15 miles apart. Both of them about 100,000 square feet. Depending on the time of the season, we do a lot of political work, so we ramp up with a lot of employees then. So right now we're probably sitting about 400 employees, and we have 15 sales reps on staff right now. And we do everything because of the nature of how we've merged multiple companies, and Morgan would know this, is we have anything and everything as it comes to press, is everything from, you know, long run open webs to short run digital and everything in between. So we're a very, very diversified print and mail company.
I'd say, yeah, that's an understatement. I've seen the facility, so strong performance over there, Guy, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as you can hear collectively from coast to coast, we have a wealth of knowledge with our panelists today. So I know that I personally am looking forward to all the insights that they're going to share with us in our audience today. So, you know, the first question I want to pose, you know, historically, there's been a proverbial tug of war between direct mail and digital. I mean, here at Direct Mail 2.0, of course, we know who the real hero is, right? And that's direct mail. And we've built an entire business around capitalizing on the direct mail marketing channel and utilizing digital to improve that. And, you know, the truth of the matter is that it really shouldn't be one channel versus the other, right? In today's current environment, we really should be utilizing the perfect mix of both. But with price challenges and, you know, our audience being uneducated maybe on the value of print, I think that it can be very challenging in a digital world today. So the first question I pose to our panelists is, how should a sales rep effectively communicate the value proposition of print services in an increasingly digital world? So I don't know, Rob, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, direct mail, you know, it is the conversation starter. You know, digital does complement it very well. You know, digital is an easier way out. It's a little bit cheaper. It's a little bit faster. You know, direct mail has been around for a long time. You know, we have a pretty robust marketing budget on our side, and we track everything. We're very analytical on everything we do. And the lion's share of our budget still goes to direct mail every single week, every single month, every single year. Mm-hmm. And I could go over 4 or 5 instances where we had a team, our marketing team, somebody within that marketing team approach us and say, hey, we need to move more money to digital. And every single time we've done that, our stats, our revenue has dropped without a doubt. So we just will not do that. Now they're both important. And like you said, Morgan, they do complement each other very well. So you do have to do both of them, but direct mail starts a conversation a lot better in my mind and proven stats wise for us than digital, you know, ads alone.
Sure. Yeah. And that's one thing that I have so much respect for with PostcardMania. You know, I hate to say this, but I work with hundreds of printers all over the country, and you would be surprised how many of them do not use direct mail for marketing purposes. And it's like,
not uncommon.
Yeah. And it's like, practice what you preach, right? Utilize
it's an expensive direct mail is way more when you're comparing it to digital ads. It's the, you know, the price is there, you know, but right. If you want to stand out and you want to take market share, you'll do it.
Right. And I mean, the proof is in the statistical data that you've accumulated. I mean, Obviously you're showing that you're getting the ROI, and when you drop it, it has an adverse effect on your leads into your organization. So for sure. I think that speaks for itself. What about you, Guy?
So I think the conversation isn't A or B. I think direct mail is now digital. I mean, meaning that you have to have some component of direct mail and digital when they're going out together. I think the conversation is very straightforward. I don't think anyone can deny the fact that when you pair the two together, you're going to get better performance from your direct mail. And that's really what we try and do, is start the conversation and let them know we're not here to compete with your digital. We're here to enhance it. We believe all marketing works together. And specifically, when you pair digital with direct mail, even if it's something simple like informed delivery, you're going to see a higher impression rate. It's not a question if. And I think the other thing that we're seeing today in our market is the fact that it's a political campaign year, you know, the traditional spaces like TV and radio are getting more expensive, right? Google is getting more crowded, lots of privacy going on. It's pushing people towards direct mail. And our job is to help them, you know, make that transition easy, and specifically ask them and be bold and say, hey, we think it's in your best interest to take some of your traditional marketing, TV, radio, and put it towards a direct mail digital enhancement.
Absolutely. I mean, even before the political season began, the cost of all marketing was going up, and the results were becoming less and less. You know, with all digital, it's just becoming a saturated space, and you know, there's a lot of real estate in the mailbox, right? So if you want to make an impression, you definitely need to inject that offline piece into your marketing strategy. So
Absolutely.
Bill, what about you? How should a sales rep effectively communicate the value proposition of print services in an increasingly digital world?
I think it's the job of the sales rep to educate. You know, there was a story 2-3 years ago where Nordstrom decided, hey, let's stop mailing to our Nordies. They're remember that?
Yeah,
they're
one of my favorite use cases.
oh, it was fantastic. And they had a disastrous quarter. And the president of the company came out and said, it's because we stopped printing. Shortly after that, Jay Jill did the exact same thing, had the exact same results. But you got to educate. I just wrote a blog about this, Morgan. My daughter, Madeline, who's 28, she's a business coach or professional coach over in London. And she had to go to a conference. So she had some business cards made up. At the last second, one of the options was, do you want a velvety paper? She said, sure, it's only $4. So she would hand someone a card. They would run their hand across it and go, oh, I really like this. And she said, what's fascinating, she first told me the story 10 days ago when she first got back. She said, people would take it and she'd say, this makes me feel really calm. And she said, what better impression, right? Well, so yesterday I'm talking to her. She said 100% of the people that took her business card got on her calendar for an appointment. A 100% hit rate because of the paper. So that kind of story sells print.
It's a heck of a proposition for tactile and sensory, for sure. That's a great story. Thanks, Bill. And Kelly, what about you?
I think to keep it incredibly simple, what I always say to my clients is, this is the conversation. You get 7 pieces of mail in your mailbox and you get hundreds of emails a day. Where do you want your message? Where do you think your message is going to be seen more clearly? In that mailbox with 7 pieces or the email? So to me, I continue to repeat over and over again, print is a crucial part of the marketing supply chain. Nobody does business today without doing some sort of printing. And to Bill's point, it's our job to educate people about all of the resources that they have available to them, all the ways that they can use print to be more effective. And that story that Bill told, I think, is really going to be informative for us about the younger generations, because they are spending so much time on screens all day long on their computers, all day long on their devices. And kids are now getting really interested in records again, right? They're getting interested in things, and to them, it's like retro. But again, print is a crucial part of the marketing supply chain. We all just have to keep shouting it from the rooftops.
Yeah, I agree. We just need more good PR for direct mail, and you just have to educate them and really get them thinking and enter and engage in that consultative sales process where you start asking them questions like, hey, do you open every single email that comes into your mailbox? No, I don't. I never received that impression. Or, how many digital ads do you see on a daily basis? How many of them do you remember, right? Just educating them and really poking holes in whatever it is they're thinking about digital being more effective. So, all right. So our next question, what do each of you encounter as the primary objection when selling a new customer print, and how should a sales rep overcome it? Bill, let's go ahead and start with you.
Simple, came right to mind, which is we already have a vendor.
Oh.
And number one objection I hear, and I think the way to get around that is to basically say to someone who says that to you, when's the last time they brought you a new idea? So the way I would phrase it is by saying, it sounds like you've got a good vendor, and that's terrific. They're a good vendor if they are delivering a quality product at a fair price on time. But they're a great vendor when they constantly challenge the status quo. They bring you new ideas as if they're still fighting for your business. And that's why my clients buy from me. And that you're dropping the suspicion of doubt in the customer's mind. And you're also proving your worth, that you will never take their business for granted. So it's a great way to overcome that objection at a professional and, keep the bar up here.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Never want to, dissuade them about the existing relationship, but, try to open up the possibility of new ideas and what additionally you might be able to bring to the table. But I always love to overcome an objection with a question. That's for sure.
But Morgan, you were surprised by my answer. You kind of did a little visceral response over that. That's
yeah,
tricky.
just I don't know that we already have an existing vendor. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's not the one that I hear most of the time, but that's why I love opening up these panels, because I get to hear a lot of different insight, So,
all right.
Yeah. All right, Kelly, what about you?
I think if you can imagine, that's what's really at the core of this is that people don't know who you are if you're a print sales rep. So awareness, I think, is a really big challenge, and that building trust. So, in a world where when most of us got started selling, it was all over the phone and face to face. Sales reps today face the issue of using social media and having great content to share and things like that. So to me, the objection of I don't know you is the big challenge, and people need to have a very specific process of how they are going to make sure people know who they are, what problems they solve, and that they can be trusted. And again, you can't do that unless you've got a great website, great social media, and a very specific sales process to implement.
Sure. Become a trusted advisor and market yourself appropriately. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. Rob, what about you? What do you, not necessarily maybe you, but I mean, you manage a sales team of 90 reps. What do you think is the common objection that you guys get, and how do you overcome it?
All right. So for us, probably a couple of the biggest are, what's my ROI going to be? What's my response going to be? It's more response based. Tracking direct mail, knowing that somebody's going to your website and then it goes through that. Maybe they click on an ad somewhere down the line, and tying that back to the direct mail piece specifically can be problematic or a challenge for us. We had a dentist, for example, that was like, it really didn't work. And when we tied the list back, there was quite a few people on the list that called him, and he's like, oh, wow, they're all saying Google. And it's like, that's pretty common. So, we do get that up front. We try and address it before it's posed to us as a problem. Another one that can be a challenge for us is, as we're working with a client for a good period of time, they will see the numbers through the digital aspects of the campaign and say, wow, I've got 1 million impressions here. I have this here. And they'll want to move more towards that and try and take the direct mail out of the equation. And, that's always a fun conversation, because you'll find out exactly how well the direct mail worked for you. And usually you're then playing catch up for the next 3 to 4 months to get back to where you were. So it's like, there is definitely a way to find out if the direct mail was working. Unfortunately, it's going to cost you a little bit of money.
Sure, 100%. They're not realizing that, those digital impressions are just enhancing that powerful impact that was driven by the mail. Yeah, I mean, it's a costly lesson, but you have to let them do it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But would you say that, the majority of the people that occurs with, they come back and they reinvest in direct mail?
I would say that the cases that I'm thinking of, yes.
Okay.
And we're pretty good at educating them, obviously, on that point. Like I had a credit union once that was just set on it, and I was like, listen, let's give it a shot and track it. And the stats just went to 3 months in a row, and he's like, okay, you win. We tried it. It didn't work. We didn't save any money. We lost money, whatever. But that is one of the challenges you come up, and it's just an educational point. It's an educational point up front. Some of the best way to handle an objection is to handle the objection before it becomes an objection to them. It's an educational point to where they're like, oh, and they don't get to the end of the consultation and say, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? If you've educated them very well, then a lot of times you can get around that.
Bingo. You hit the nail on the head, right? Because if you are truly engaging in a consultative sales process, you are going to ask the most appropriate questions to gather all of the information you need to put together and present such an effective presentation that the objection isn't even going to come into question, right? And then if it does, it's like, well, maybe I just missed something here. So let me ask some more questions, right? And then be able to drill back in that point home. So yeah, I mean, you definitely can set yourself up to where you do not get those objections in the first place. That's for sure. Guy, what about you? What's the most common objection? How do you guys overcome it?
I think it's similar to Rob. When we talk about print, we're talking specifically about print and mail. So a lot of times when we're talking to someone like a new prospect, it's specific to not utilizing direct mail today. And the first thing they say, it's too expensive, it's too complicated and hard to measure. Those are traditionally the things that we hear. And it goes back to education, asking good questions. And you ask them, what's the cost to acquire a customer? A lot of times they don't even know that, right? And you say, well, what does that mean? Say, how much would you spend with Google or TV to get a new customer? And if you show them that direct mail lives in that same world, then they're going to benefit. The other big thing too is measuring, right? We have a matchback report, pretty sophisticated, but basically we can show them specifically, hey, we mailed to all these people within this time frame and they became customers. And they say, well, they could have saw a TV ad or they could have came in. We said, okay, we're not going to fight with that. We know that we put a piece of mail in their mailbox. And just like Kelly said, hey, how many emails did they get compared to pieces of mail? Well, I know for a fact when I put that piece of mail into their mailbox, and I know that they picked it up and they touched it, right? Because it's probably not in there today. So I think the education, talking to them about the cost to acquire a customer and the long-term value of a customer and helping them get to that number, even if they don't know it, to show it to them. And then, really talk about the cost of mail and making it easy for them. We're a complete end-to-end solution, from the list to the graphic design, to the print, to the mail, out the door. We do it all for them. So I think that's key too, is mail's got a connotation that's difficult, it's complicated, it's hard to execute. So we really try and make that easy for them.
Sure. Yeah. Great answer. Great response. Budget is definitely a common objection that I hear, but you have to make it make sense, right? And it sounds like that's what you guys are doing over there. So
absolutely.
So I have a couple of ideas about this next question, but I really want to hear from you guys. Do you have any insider strategies on programs that can be used as a sales tool to stay ahead of competitors and differentiate print offerings in the marketplace? I mean, of course, every business, especially, in the print space, it's really challenging to try to remain competitive, right? So we're all looking for ways to differentiate ourselves or to have a unique selling proposition and be able to effectively communicate why, print or mail with us versus another provider. And I think a lot of times it comes down to, dollars and cents, and ABC printer can print it for 2 cents less. And, that's a real poor place to be. You don't want to be in a cost-based environment. And I think that it's really important that we're finding ways that we can add value, right? So
yeah.
Any insight on strategies or programs that can be used as a sales tool to differentiate yourself in the marketplace? Rob, what about you guys?
Sure. So, we don't typically do too many print jobs per se. We are a marketing company. We're doing marketing campaigns for our clients. Our result, or what they're paying us for, is to help them generate leads, going to generate traffic, it's going to generate revenue. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The best tip I could probably give would be to align yourself with your prospective client, that you guys are an actual team, right? And, there's obviously a technique and an art to that. If you, the salesperson, are trying to sell them, that comes across one way. If you, the salesperson, are teaming up with them to attack said problem, which is, I don't have enough leads, I'm not making enough money, whatever, that's going to come through. And ultimately, caring enough about that person that you're talking to, whether it's on the phone, face to face, and being willing to take responsibility for what they're trying to accomplish, right? So, I'm sure a lot of people on here listening are the owners of their company, right? My reps are not the owner of this company, but we get a lot of people that ask, are you the owner? And when you're getting questions like that, that means that you're presenting yourself as if you're putting yourself in such a light that they think only the owner of that company would do that because they care about me and my results that much. So, I'm sure there's a lot of different techniques, but, for us, we try and care about you enough to where that we actually care about you and we want to see the results that you want. And we want to team up to help that happen.
Yeah. So building the relationships, which is so integral for ongoing and repeat business as well, right? So definitely an effective strategy. Bill, what about you?
I think as I observed this, Morgan, the people who are doing the best differentiation, they're the ones who are telling stories on LinkedIn. Look what we did for this customer. Look at this example. And because I look at that and I say, that's brilliant. You're saying here, we did this solution, we did this solution. When their phone rings and it's someone seeing it, they're going to say, I've got that same problem. You clearly understand what I'm doing. That is the differentiator. With all due respect to the equipment manufacturers, it's all beige and it uses electricity. You, the sales rep, are the differentiator. Your ideas, your professionalism, I think Rob would back me up on this, your selling skill. That's what's going to be the difference. That's what's going to get in and say, let me solve this problem. Let me understand the story behind the printed piece. Let me take the time to move up the food chain from the quote stage to the design stage. That's the best differentiator because those sales are made without mention of price.
Sure.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's just to touch on that, it's not always about the price. It's about the price difference, right? So, if somebody's 300 or 400, 500, whatever size of the campaign difference, is it worth taking less risk with company A or saving with company B, right? So that's a good point.
Absolutely. 100%. And then I like what you said too, Bill, about using LinkedIn and knowing how to appropriately market yourself as well. As a print provider or an MSP, you are providing marketing campaigns for mailers, right? So they're going to be looking at how effectively you're marketing yourself. They're going to be looking at, like Kelly said it, they're going to be looking at your website. They're going to be looking at all of that. I mean, if you're doing a really poor job at marketing, do you think that they're going to trust you with their marketing? Right? So something to think about there. All right, Kelly, what about you?
Well, it's exactly what you and Rob were talking about at the very top of this conversation, Morgan, which is use print to sell print. We talk about this on Marketing Matters on the Vault all the time. Our guy Primo is always saying, how did you use print this week? And Rob's point is extremely important. There are a lot of folks out there that are not doing any self promo at all. And we all know that we've seen websites where it's like, was this created in 2004? Like, what are you doing here? So everything that Bill said about being anecdotal is so true because it's like everyone can understand a story, right? Everybody understands J. Jill stopped doing direct mail and their sales tanked. Like that is a sticky, everybody understands its story. So those, that firm belief and confidence and pride in print should inform everything that we do. And Bill's absolutely right about LinkedIn. And that same content you put on LinkedIn can go on TikTok and can go on Instagram and can go everywhere, right? Because we know that not all of our audience is on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And while some of us don't want to admit that there's a thing called TikTok, there are a lot of people there. And very easily you can put your stuff there as well.
Sure. 100%. Thanks, Kelly. What about you, Guy?
I think about it from the perspective of the client. I think really relating with them, specifically when you're dealing in niche markets and really being able to understand their needs, their wants, their challenges that they're having today, and trying to change the conversation from a cost per piece and really the results that they're going to get. I think when they feel like they're understood and you understand their market, that strategy really is impactful. And I think it goes to, bottom line, building relationships. I think that's the core of everything, and the strength right there is the true strategies. If they felt valued and they felt heard, you know, they're going to invest with you. And I think being blatantly honest with people too, and telling them, you know, I'll have a guy or a customer say, hey, I only want to do one mailing. And I'll say, hey, you know what? That's great. I said, I wouldn't recommend that. I could take your money, but you'd be better off going to Vegas or Tahoe and putting on red or black. You know, it doesn't work. It's not a one and done. If you don't understand that, then I haven't done my job in educating you on how direct mail works, right? It's not a faucet. You don't turn it on and off, right? It's a consistent investment. If you can't invest in a minimum of a 90-day strategy, you can't support that, then maybe it's not good for us to work together. And I tell them, I win when you win. That's it. If you don't want to come back because it didn't work, then I didn't win, and I don't want to be taking your money knowing the fact that this is probably not going to be successful. So I think when you're that honest and willing to walk away from something, people go, you know, I want to do business with that person.
I love everything you're saying, Guy. I'm just like eating it up, you know, because a lot of times in the print industry, we have a lot of order taking, you know, but what I'm hearing for you is that you're a sales rep. You are a sales rep through and through. You're not just picking up the phone and taking that order. You're really caring about the results that you're driving for your customer. And you're willing to pull those punches and, you know, ask those uncomfortable questions because you care about the results that the customer is going to get. So I love that.
Absolutely.
So, you know, guys, hey, it's our webinar, so I just have to put a little plug in here for Direct Mail 2.0 because, you know, a sales tool or, you know, a program that can be utilized to differentiate your print offerings is Direct Mail 2.0, right? So we have that 14 technology marketing automation platform that, you know, you can be pitching something above and beyond just ink on paper. You can be going to a customer and asking them if they want to get a 23 to 46% lift in response to their mail, and is their current print provider doing this? And you get a revenue stream by selling our product, but additionally, you get a revenue stream by going out and acquiring new mail business from print providers that aren't offering omni-channel. They're not offering reporting dashboard. They're not showing that attribution. And there's a lot of other programs and tools out there like that, just technology wise too, that can be utilized to differentiate yourselves as well. You know, it could be a print equipment, or, you know, there's just tons of other things in technology that I can think of. There are a lot of questions too coming in through our chat. So everybody that's putting your questions through there, we'll get to those just at the end of the webinar. So keep them coming and we will address them.
Hey, Morgan, I'd like to add one thing.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's a lot of owners and operators on this call that are printers. I'm living in your world, and I want you to know I partnered with Morgan and her company and Brad many years ago, and we've had great success with it. So if you want to talk to me directly, I'll answer the question straight with you. That's just kind of my personality. And I'll tell you the good, bad, and the ugly. And I would highly recommend checking it out. I have nothing but great things to say about Morgan and her team. They are just really good people.
Thank you, Guy. Hey, I appreciate that. I really, really do. I know you're really busy. So by you being willing to take the time to speak with somebody if they have questions, I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. They've been a partner a long time and they've had a lot of success with the product. Guy's been really ramping it up this year. So I've been really excited to see that too.
Absolutely.
So, all right, this next one. Are any of you willing to share what has been most successful in generating new leads or prospects for print recently? We're all interested in growing our business, and in order to do that, we need fresh blood. We need new leads and prospects. I mean, obviously, Rob, we heard from you that you guys are investing a ton of money in marketing, right? So, I mean, above and beyond that, you know, do you have anything else that you have to share?
Sure. So, you know, this one comes up a lot, and that is, you know, obviously you've done step one. You know, you've got to reach from somebody, whether they phoned you, whether they sent you a message, filled out and hit a landing page. The nurturing process after that needs to be robust. Like, you know, you have to have a system in place to stay in front of that person for a pretty aggressive and long period of time. That's probably the best advice I can give you. You know, once you figure out how to get somebody to that page, to that site on the phone, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to turn into a client. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to call you. So you've generated an interest. Don't let it go. Don't let it go. You have to stay in front of them, and we'll do that for years. You know, we will get clients that have been in our database for years. I mean, 5, 6, 7 years to be, you know, give you some crazy examples, but you know, just because they filled it out doesn't mean they're ready to go. Doesn't mean you should just move on, you know?
Absolutely. And that's why marketing is so important. Like, we never know when that serendipitous moment is going to occur when they're ready to do business with you. Or, you know, maybe all of a sudden 2 years later, they have a falling out with their existing vendor and they're still getting your marketing. They're still in your funnel and they're like, hey, let me give them a call, right? So that nurturing process is super important. You know, somebody wrote a question here, you know, it's kind of relevant. And it's addressed to Rob and Guy. If you're comfortable sharing, how much mail do you send to market your companies?
I'm fine answering that. We send a couple 100,000 pieces per week.
Few hundred thousand?
Yeah, we send it's right around 190 to 210,000 pieces every week right now. And that accounts for probably about 65 to 70% of our budget. And then the rest is spent on ads, pay-per-click, and you know, all the other avenues.
That's strong. Guy, what about you guys?
I can definitely tell you it's not that much direct mail. And I've known this about Rob and his company, Enjoy, that was kind of the foundation, how she built her company, right? She talks about that.
Yep.
And it's admirable. And I wish I could say that we did a better job doing that. And I know Morgan and I are working on some programs right now where we're specifically working to take some of our technologies that we have, the DM 2.0 stuff, but also the variable. We brought on a web press, an HP digital web press that's 100% variable about a year ago. It's an incredible piece of equipment, changes the game for direct mail because you can do every single piece variable at a very high speed. So we're leveraging that to get out very specific messages to very niche markets. So gives us that opportunity to have that one-on-one conversation. But now that I know Rob's number, I have a goal now to push my ownership to start marketing at a higher level.
Let me know how that meeting goes, Guy.
I'll let you know if I need your help to help me close that.
They are not playing over there.
No, they do a great job marketing. They really do.
Thanks, Guy.
Bill, what about you? What do you think, you know, is most successful right now for generating new leads and prospects for print?
For print, well, if my wife were here, she would roll her eyes because I say this a dozen times a day. Marketing is the new sales. And it's long range. My marketing director says to me, you gotta, well, she starts out with, Dad, you've got to look 18 to 24 months down the road. And I can tell you it's absolutely true. We went all in. We post every single day, quality material, valuable material, not ads. We don't sell through LinkedIn, but people respond. And we are seeing a hockey stick kind of growth recently. And it's just, some days it gets crazy. But when whenever anyone calls, they don't say, what do you do? They say, when can you start? And that, as Rob was saying, you know, use the phrase qualified lead. Man, if you can get to that because you've done the storytelling, we hit the markets, people that hate selling, but they need to grow. People that want to harness LinkedIn, people that are new to selling, or they want to hire a rep, or they want to get to the next level. They're stuck. I don't know what to do. I'm paralyzed. I'm overthinking everything, or I'm in cruise control. That's our target audience. That's what I write to. That's the content that I create, answering the questions that they would ask so that people call and they'll say, it's as if you were in my sales meeting. It's exactly the problem that I'm having. That's dynamite lead gen.
Yep. Solution-based marketing. And I think what I'm hearing from you is that you're providing educational content too, right? It's not that hard sell or, you know, 50% off, or, I mean, you're providing them something of value through educational content, right?
Well, plus it's fun and it's personable.
Yeah.
You know, if it can be entertaining, then entertain. You know, if you have a sense of humor, let it out. But if you don't try.
Like the chicken suit, right?
Like a chicken
Yeah.
suit, for
Yeah,
example.
where's the chicken suit? Let's see it.
If you guys haven't seen the chicken suit, you have to go on LinkedIn and see Bill and Kelly's D-Scoop promotion. It's hilarious. So
Just
Yeah.
Kelly. Who was out that day?
Oh, I thought you did another rendition of it right after. Maybe you were just commenting and threatening to bust out your chicken suit. Kelly, what about you? What do you think has been the most successful for generating new leads or prospects for print recently?
Well, I think that what people strategically need to do is be extremely laser focused on the kind of business that they make the most money on and that is the best fit for their organization. And that, sometimes might mean getting rid of a lot of your prospects that just are not the right fit for you. The very first thing that I think everybody needs to do is look at, here are our top accounts. This is the vertical markets that they play in. Become, as Bill always taught me, a subject matter expert in those vertical markets, because you can solve their problems over and over and over again. So I think there's a lot of printers out there who think everybody's their customer. They don't have any rules. I love what Guy said about, if you want to do one mailing with me, I'm going to say no. Just like Primo won't do printing for somebody if they don't have a website. Right? His policy is first things first.
Yeah.
Right. And so we might even say, let's not get over our skis on print before we lock down some very specific things about our company. So we need to be almost like cruelly surgical about who we go after and know that we will be successful with those kinds of companies because we already are.
Yeah.
So that is very, very clearly defining who our customers are and what they order from us and with what frequency. And, nobody's making money on onesie, twosie projects, right? We want repetitive, relationship, mutually beneficial and mutually dependent relationships.
So quality versus quantity. Makes sense. Yep.
Yeah.
So, one thing that I know that the print industry really struggles with, and, not just with sales reps, but in attracting good talent or, people into the workforce. And of course, like I said before, I work with so many different printers and mail service providers. And historically, the type of sales rep that I see in a print organization is an account manager. And don't get me wrong, I mean, they play a really lucrative role within that organization. I mean, a lot of these account managers are managing millions of dollars of business within these organizations, and it's very important. But we all want to grow as well, right? And a true sales rep that has a hunter mentality and that's going to pound pavement and dial for dollars is a totally different breed than an account manager, right? We're talking about two totally different types of people. So I think that there's definitely a use case for both. And I think they're both an integral part of the organization, but you also need quality, sales talent too. So what are some ways to source, attract, and not just source and attract them, because, there's a lot of money spent in acquiring talent, but also to retain them, to retain top sales talent to a print company. Kelly, we'll start with you.
I mean, the onboarding is everything, right? If we find somebody, and let's face it, if we found somebody that had was not afraid to have conversations with people, who just presented well, was confident and fearless, and had all the best communication skills, that's something to work with, right? So we could take that person and teach them everything they need to know about the solutions, the questions to ask, and being able to present a personality that inspires trust and confidence.
Sure.
So that's the baseline for, will you come and work for me? And then they say yes. That's where the problems start, because then the owner goes, there's your desk. Best of luck to you.
Sure.
Right. And today, with anybody under the age of 40, that is a recipe for disaster. So we have to be very intentional about what our onboarding process is. What are the first 90 days going to look like for this person? Who's going to support them? Who's going to train them? Who's going to help them implement a strategy and execute on a sales process, and do everything in your power to make sure that you are setting them up for the best amount of success. So if you are like most printing companies out there, with all due respect, that don't have this locked down. To me, I would never hire another sales rep until I had this on lock, which is, how am I going to set them up for success? And how much do you know about Gen Z and how much do you know about younger millennials? Because we cannot apply our lived experience, as proud most of us may be Gen Xers on this call and out there in the world. Just because you did it and bootstrapped and, managed it all does not mean you can expect a 24-year-old fresh grad from a business school to act like you did. So we have got to change how we measure it, how we train, how we support. It is no joke. I'm not saying it's easy, but we have to be very intentional about it. And we have to really think it through. I would say at a minimum 90 days, I know exactly what this person's life is going to be like for the first 90 days of them working with us. And I know exactly how I'm going to support them, how I'm going to measure success with them, how I'm going to encourage them, lots and lots of encouragement, right? And that is the only way it's going to work. Because please stop with the, I need to hire a guy with a book of business. Please, let's stop that. All of us, please.
That's good advice, Kel.
Thank you, Kelly. Well, I mean,
All
if there's one person that I know does have this unlock, it's Rob Bradshaw. I mean, I personally know that he definitely has this unlock. So, I mean, what are some ways that you source, attract, and retain top sales talent at PostcardMania, Rob?
Well, I mean, I don't know that I have it on lock as much as you think I have it on lock.
I do.
We do have a very good onboarding program. We didn't always have that, Kelly. It's funny you bring that up. That was something, we've obviously had it for quite a few years now, but it was kind of like, the people that do well here can just sit down and do it. And that did change, and to Kelly's point, you do have to be careful, when you have younger generation in there and you're, 40 plus or whatever your age is above that, you have a different reality than they do. I promise you that. So you have to, you can't be like, well, I would have never done that, or I wouldn't have done it that way. That's not going to get you where you want to go. You know what I mean? You have to be willing to adapt with the people you have. I think, as far as getting somebody in the door and keeping them, you have to deliver on what you say you're going to deliver on. When we go over our comp plans, I just show them what everybody's making. I say, hey, here's the numbers. These were all the bonuses last month. These were all the bonuses last quarter. This is what this person made. This is what they're projected to make. The good, the bad, and the ugly. And it's like, so exactly what you're getting. There's no, well, I was promised this, or I thought I was going to do this, So I think that's important. I think the culture of your environment is very important. Whatever your culture is, it's not to say it has to be my culture or your culture. They have to fit your culture, And if they don't necessarily expect to change them. If a person's super quiet and they don't like talking to somebody, or they don't like interacting, or they're not very social, and you have an environment that's very social, a lot of things together, probably not a great fit, For me personally, I'm not as big of a part of the interview process, but if I was, and when I was, my whole goal in determining was, would I sit next to you? If I were on my sales floor right now, would I sit next to you? And if the answer is no, then it was probably a no. The manager, whoever had you in front of me, was going to have to fight really, really hard if I wouldn't sit next to you. Like, why would I put you next to somebody else? Like, my culture in PostcardMania is super important. It's a big part of how we got here. So
Sure.
There's a long-winded answer.
No, I mean, it makes sense. And, I know you do a good job over there, and you have good training programs. And I mean, you definitely have a lot of things implemented.
Yeah. We have a lot of recurring training too. I use the analogy, I have a lot of people that aren't sports fans, but I like to use sports analogies. But, when you think about like a pro athlete, for example, they practice for, 20 to 50 hours a week. For, an NFL guy plays one game a week for 3.5 hours, and he might practice for 30, 40 hours. Like, this is our profession. We're professionals at this. You should be practicing what you're doing. And it shouldn't be like, oh, I just get to practice on the people that call in or whatever. You should be practicing. You should be retraining. You know, you should have some points that, you know, that help retread things that might get lost too, you know?
100%. So, you know, that was fantastic, guys. Listen, I really thank all of you for taking the time to join us today on the webinar and for being transparent and sharing all of your insights. I personally found it to be really valuable. I want to get over to some of the questions here that I have in the chat. You know, one is from an end user. And she said, we've been doing postcards targeted to our market for a new operation. How long do you think it takes before a user like us can see a measurable by invoice count result?
What's the price point? Can they give us that? That determines a lot of it. You know, if you're selling $1 million pieces of equipment, that's a different story than, you know,
Sure.
a landscaper that's $100 a month, right?
Yeah, I think that, you know, maybe this will be a good question for us to take offline, Gene. You know, maybe we could pose it to the panel. You know, and I think that to Rob's point, there's so many different variables, right? I mean, what marketing you're in, how many people are you marketing to, what's your audience look like, you know, what's the creative look like, what's the offer, what's the call to action? I mean, there's just so many things, you know. So I think all of us would probably love to take a look or have a discussion with you about your campaign, and, you know, definitely like to give you some feedback on that for sure. Mark Hale is curious, how do you pay your salespeople? So I know a lot of times they're like 100% commission. Sometimes they're base pay plus commission. How do you guys pay your salespeople? Rob?
Sure. Well, for a long time, for probably the first 12, 13 years here, it was pretty much commission based. From the get-go, you know, maybe for the first 6 weeks, you made X amount of dollars. I found that kind of faded, and I don't think I can get away with that anymore. And we changed it. We changed it years ago, and now we have, you know, they do get a base salary that's very competitive. And then we also have certain quota bonuses. We have closing bonuses. You know, we've determined what we feel is a qualified lead. I feel like that's important. You know, just because somebody walked in or called you or filled out a form, you know, you can obviously use that as your gauge, you know, which is fine. You know, I like it. I have something similar to that. So we have closing bonuses, monthly bonuses, quota bonuses. There's spiffs on specific products, you know, and that's important. And then I also have a system in place that gives them actual measurable increases in salary, which I think is super important today. You know, everybody wants the salary. So, you know, if you meet certain benchmarks, and not just productivity driven, not just revenue driven, if that's the stat, more of like, I took what's important to me in an overall rep, and I took those attributes, and those are what I look for. And because those are the guys that I want to stay with me for a long period of time. And, you know, I do have people that have been here for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. I have people out here that have been here longer than me. So.
Wow. That's a pretty lucrative compensation package. You've got all kinds of different bonus structures.
Yeah, I mean, it is performance based, you know what I mean? Yeah. But, and the earning potential is obviously good, but I think that's important, and it needs to be achievable. You know, it has to be achievable. If I go over the bonus structure with somebody, I'm like, listen, this isn't like a pie in the sky, like, you know, one day you'll be here, you know, it's like, I expect you to hit these numbers. Like, these are expected, not, you know, so the word bonus sometimes can get a little like, well, you know, if I get this, then I get a bonus. It's like, no, this is kind of like where I want you to be. I actually want to pay you this. You know what I mean? In my role at PostcardMania, I'm not really in the costs, you know, I'm not part of the cost saving conversations. They don't bring me in on those.
Right. Bring in the money. Guy, what about you guys? Are you 100% commissioned, or do you guys have base pay plus commission, or?
So it's base pay plus commission, but the majority of the opportunity to earn is on a commission basis. I would say we're probably on the other end of the spectrum from where Rob's living. You know, we have, you know, probably the majority of our reps are Gen X. And to Kelly's point, you know, we do go out and we seek to hire people with a book of business, or they come to us. Because we've acquired a lot of our competition. We're pretty well known in the area, so we'll have customer or reps come to us, and, you know, we're from a different area. So the area that I am is we're not going to micromanage you. We want you to be motivated to make, money. So bringing in, that new Gen Z probably it'd be a heavy lift for us, because I don't think that's kind of the world that we're living in today. I think that's kind of where we're going to migrate to. But right now, I would say the majority is, a small base, and the majority is commission. And that's kind of where we are.
Cool. Thanks, Guy. And Bill, you have a point to add?
I do. Just remember, gang, it's not just pay, it's compensation. So I do some work on the side as an expert witness. When somebody in the industry, when a sales rep leaves and they take business and they've got a non-compete or a confidentiality, they call me in to define what that means. Every single case I have done, it has less to do with somebody saying, I want more money, and more to do with the reps saying they had no idea how good I was. And I could sit and have 3 beers with Rob with 90 different sales reps, 90 different personalities. It's one thing to say you made a ton of dough, but if you can make that sales rep feel appreciated, and
Right.
I bet there's 90 different ways, it's something you've got to consider as well.
It's true. And some people take appreciation in the form of money, but others have different values for sure.
Well, hey, ignore it.
The acknowledgement.
I encourage everyone to ignore that, because that'll mean there'll be more business for me as an expert witness. I love doing that stuff. So.
No, it's
Well,
true. Go ahead, Rob.
I think an important point there too is that to dovetail off what Bill just said, is people want to be acknowledged.
They do.
They want to be acknowledged. They want to be told they did a good job. They may not ask, salespeople, they may not openly ask for it, but they do like to be acknowledged. And, your comp plan should do that. You know what I mean? It's like they want to win. When somebody achieves a goal or a target, they want to win. If the president of the company or whatever takes them out to dinner, whatever, I actually, for my management team, I cook for them. And I'm telling you, I'm like, hey, let's go to Capitol Grill. Let's go to Burns. They're like, no. I'm like, it's going to be way better than what I'm cooking for you. But it's the idea that I'm sitting there cooking for them. I'm telling you, I can't outrun it. They're like, I'm always like, hey, here's our options. They're like, you cooking's not an option. I'm like, no, I want to hang out and talk to you guys, not cook for you for 3 hours. And they win most of the time on that argument. So, and the food's not that great, I promise.
Yeah, it's true. Acknowledgement goes a long way. And I think, you're taking that time and you're utilizing your time to spend with them, and that communicates a certain message to them, right? And so acknowledgement does go a long way. Everybody likes an attaboy. It feels good, right? We like to know that we're contributing to the organization and that we're valued, right? People want to feel valued. So
yeah, they also want to be in the loop too. I mean, I know for our company, we survey them. I'm like, hey, do you guys want information like this? And they're like, yes. They want to know where you're going, how you're getting there. They want to be a part of it, So we're pretty overt. I've answered some questions on here that some people might not answer, but we're kind of like that. We're like that as our culture. So, we'll answer, most of everything. We do a staff meeting. We share tons of things every week with everybody. We do it every week. We've done it since the get-go. And, it's a 45-minute to an hour long meeting that we do with as many people as we can cram into the building. And we go over lots of things to make them feel part of the group, a part of the growth, and a part of the overall goal.
I love that. Yeah, that's really good. Keeping everybody involved. Well, hey guys, we've reached the hour mark here. We're at 3 p.m. I really just want to thank you again. This has been a great webinar. I really appreciate you all taking the time. Anybody has any additional questions, just email me personally and I can shoot them over to our panelists. So thanks everybody for spending some time with us this afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Morgan.
Thanks,
Morgan.